I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
And I'm Krysta, and I'm the daughter.
And together we are Family Plot. Wow, that worked out so well. How is everybody today?
Doing all right. The allergy season is right in along with the spooky season, as always.
As
Gotta love
always.
those fall allergies.
Yep, kicking my butt.
They've been running rampant throughout their house, and we're upping our spooky ante around here. And
I love spooky.
Chris made us a beautiful hand-painted door decoration.
I did.
Yes,
it looks like it belongs at the Dollar General.
Yeah, and I have decided what I'm going to be for Halloween.
What are you going to be for Halloween?
I am going to be a shy guy from Mario Brothers.
I love that.
And I'm going to attempt to make myself a paper mache mask. And then I'm going to wear my big purple robe and make a belt to go around it. I'm going to be a shy guy from Super Mario.
Okay.
I love that.
It's going to be amazing.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, you'll know it. It's okay. I got it.
I'm on Pinterest.
I got it. I already looked it up.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow.
So, see?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to wear my purple robe, and it has the big hood. And I'm going to tuck my sleeves so I have the little no finger arms.
Cool.
And then I'll probably wear tennis shoes and put covers over them and make myself a belt.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to knock it out of the park.
And what are you going to be?
I'm either going to be my main mask, look, I don't know if they know it, but I'm either going to be my main mask Gemini, my main dino mask Gemini, or I'm going to wear my skull cat mask.
Aha. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. If you want to help us out, a couple ways you can do that. First, there's Patreon. It's a monthly donation. Right now, our levels are set at just $1 and $3. And any little bit helps. Also, if you can't do a monthly donation, you can do just $1 or $2 through Buy Me a Coffee. Also, most importantly, if you
coffee.
Yes. If you enjoy the show, please share it on social media.
Share it with your friends.
Yeah,
share
exactly.
it with your family. Share it at family reunions and holiday parties.
Absolutely. And
especially holiday parties.
If you don't enjoy the show, please keep it to yourself. Now, tonight, we head back to the early 1970s. Disco and stuff. To discuss a series of murders in 1974, as well as the events that happened to a family that moved into that house. In my notes, it says a few years later, but actually it was only a year later.
Yes.
Its original address was 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York, as we look into the true story of one of America's best-known haunted houses. We talk the house from the Amityville Horror. But first, Krysta has a corner.
It's not just any corner, it's Krysta's corner.
Hi there.
Hi, Krysta.
Hi, Krysta.
How are we doing?
I'm a little nervous because this was one of my formative horror movies of my life. I saw this when I saw a few glimpses of this movie when I was probably a little bit older than Lexi, and it has stayed vividly in my mind all of these years later. And so it definitely made an impact. So the fact that we are talking about it has me a little, something like that.
Something like that.
How are you?
Yeah, it is Krista's corner, not Mom's.
You know what? Y'all both had the chance to talk.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. I was just saying, how are
Did
you?
anybody tell you not to?
No.
Okay then.
I was calling him out for calling you out. This isn't Mom's corner.
I appreciate it. I do like, I just noticed that your makeup today looks a little bit like a masquerade mask, which is very
I
cool.
love doing that. I absolutely love this, sort of style.
I like that you try different things. Like you've done an Egyptian thing. You've done this mask
Yeah,
thing.
but she won't give me rainbows, and she won't put rainbows on her cheekies like I tried to get her to do, which I think is so cute. She has a picture on her TikTok of her with rainbows on her cheekies, and oh my gosh, it might be the cutest thing I've ever seen. So I think she needs to do actual rainbows on her cheeks, on her face cheeks. Get your minds out of the gutter, anybody who's listening.
Oh,
Look how cute she is.
that is cute.
She needs to do that. So cute.
So very cute.
And if she doesn't want to put them on her cheeks, she could put them above her eyes. I think that would be so pretty. You look how pretty.
Yeah.
I was trying to talk
I
her
was
into it,
trying
and
to
she
show
just-
you the one with my red hair.
I also want her to do my makeup and make me look all fancy and beautiful and colorful. And she keeps saying, not right now, Mom. I'm not in the mood to do makeup.
People.
Can't get good if you don't ever practice.
Okay, but I do really gothic makeup.
Not necessarily. I've seen you do light stuff.
Sometimes, if I have my white eyeliner, but Lord knows where that stuff went.
Thank you for saving our PG-13 rating.
Yeah,
Yes.
no problem.
So, what's going on in Krista's corner today?
Well, I can talk about my class that I had.
What class is that?
That's competitive drama.
Cool. Now, you and your brother are doing a piece in there, yeah?
We're doing a duo.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't know much about it. All I know is that we're doing it, and I gotta memorize it.
Cool.
Because Blue's cut most of it, because I've been working on my oratory that I presented today.
How was that?
That went pretty well, actually. Most people liked it. But they were just like, you need to work on your voice. You need to work on, not stuttering and stuff. And you also need to be, more confident in yourself.
And I agree with all of that.
Yes, I do as well.
And I guess I was kind of shifty, a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. But here's the thing. When public speaking, nobody really tells you what to do with your arms and your legs. We all just
stand there like a wall.
Yeah, some people like to grab the podium. Comics are lucky we get to hold a mic, and I used to smoke when I was on stage to give my other hand something to do. But at the same time, I might get back on stage just to do it, not for any reason other than I feel like doing it. But yeah, I might get back on stage at some point, and I'll do it without cigarettes. So we'll figure out what I do with my other hand if that happens. But like I said, there's no rules. It's just sort of made up. But so I can see him saying shifty. I wouldn't agree necessarily. If I was using that criteria when I judged the debate tournament at Blues Old School, people would have gotten even fewer points from me. Not that anybody really did.
Yeah, in OO, you sort of have to stand still. You have to keep your hands to your sides, and it's not at all like something that you should be moving for.
I see.
Unless, like, you're doing the normal thing where you go in your triangle, blah, 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 triangle formation, important, different, detail, whatever.
Okay.
This sounds like a class taught by someone who's never seen the movie Drop Dead Gorgeous.
He is fairly young.
Because they have a girl that wants to be an actress in there, and her way of like setting up for a scene, she goes, oh, and then she's like in the scene. It's kind of funny. Well, that whole movie is kind of funny. I liked it. But then again, Kirsten Dunst, I like her as an actress. I don't know anything about her as a person.
Well, yeah. Let's see. My oratory went on 6 minutes and 47 seconds, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
That's what he said. 47, 48.
So how long was it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be at least 8 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, I could have warned you about that. No matter how long it is in practice, it will shorten when you do it because
You get nervous.
The tendency is to rush through it.
I know. That's what I said. It was just like, for some of it, I think I was talking pretty fast. He was just like, some parts, but for the most part, you actually did pretty well with your pace. And I'm just like, thanks. He also called my transitions cute.
But that makes sense. I mean,
you are cute.
And she transitions here, but she does the same thing. She's kind of cutesy about it. So
have to be. If I'm not, what's the point?
The point is you be you, Chris. I'm not telling you not to be you. I'm in fact your biggest fan. Go, Chris.
Oops.
Let's see.
If you wanted to make the podcast, kid, you didn't have to bite your sister on the butt.
She didn't. She poked me in the butt crack.
Oh my God. I'm leaving that in. I don't care.
I care.
It may be Krista's corner, but it's Lexi's poke. I liked.
You did again. I'll throw you to the ground.
So you did well. Your speech wasn't as long. Your oratory wasn't as long as it needed to be by a little, but again,
yeah, and then also Mr. Graham said that I had a really good speech and debate voice. I just needed to work on
projection. Yeah, which is what I've told you since we started the podcast.
Yeah. He's just like, you've got a really good voice for it. I don't know why you stress so much. I'm just like, I just do.
You do. I mean, you stress over everything, but
unfortunately, you come with it, honestly.
When you are confident, Chris, there's no one that can match you.
Well, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about? I'm glad that your oratory went really well today.
Yeah, no, a lot of people liked it. One of my classmates, his name is Eli, I think. He said that I did a really good job and that he liked the topic. He just thinks that I should be more. You need to be more confident, dude.
You do, but you've always struggled with your confidence, baby girl.
I do struggle with confidence.
And you come by that honestly. Mom's the same way. I'm the same way. So, anything else you want to talk about in your corner?
You know, I also wanted to talk about how my DI was going and a book that I found at the library.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
So, in the library, I had found a book. It was full of, is this? Like this.
So, like
wide.
about 2 inches thick.
Yeah, like this, about 2 inches thick and maybe like, it's a decent sized book. It's like,
okay.
And, It's full of Edgar Allan Poe poems, which I really enjoy Edgar Allan Poe because that's sort of how I learned about poetry, and one of my passions is poetry.
Awesome.
I
was big on poetry when I was in high school. I even wrote a lot of my own poems.
I've been big on poetry for a while. I find it very fun to do. It's just one of the fun things that I do less often because I will have a really good idea that sparks up every once in a while. And then when I sort of run out of that idea for it, it's just like, well, shoot, what am I going to do next? I guess I'm just going to wait until another good idea sparks up. And that sort of happens within time. I feel like poetry takes time, like most other things, to think about.
It does. However, if you like anything you want to seriously pursue, you just got to do it. And the more you do it, the better you get. But you know that. I mean, There's a reason they say, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. Lots and lots of practice.
Yeah.
You probably don't even know what Carnegie Hall is, but so it's an old saying from way back in the day. Never mind.
But, yeah, I found it in the library, and I thought that was pretty cool, because we have one at home, and there was also a Stephen King book that I wanted to read.
Stephen?
Yeah, Stephen King. Stephen King book that I wanted to read, but I think somebody took it from me.
What's the book?
I can't remember the name right now. All I remember, not just because there was a cat on the front of it.
That cemetery?
That cemetery, probably.
Maybe, it's possible that was what it was. But, it looks really cool.
It is-ish. There's some hard stuff in that book. Hard stuff in the movie, too. The first one, I haven't seen the remake.
The remake is bad. The remake is bad. Don't watch it. It's so stupid.
Okay. Glad to hear that.
Sorry to anyone who disagrees, but
my favorite Stephen King stories are still Rose Red and The Stand.
Yeah, I like The Stand. I don't think I'll ever not like The Stand. Although
more Stephen King, but I just haven't gotten the chance yet.
That has quite a few.
I do like the Gunslinger Dark Tower series as well. That's pretty cool.
I didn't read that one, and I've never seen the movie.
There's only one movie, but there's like 8 books.
I haven't read any of that.
And there may be more coming, because he has said that the idea for that series was a mighty steam shovel of a series. So, yeah.
Glad you're finding some authors that you enjoy.
I enjoy a couple of authors. Like, a new one is Nina LaCour. I'm pretty sure that's the author's name of this one. But this book that I'm doing for my DI, which I'm not completely sure that it'll work out because I haven't read through the whole book yet. But it's basically about a girl who sort of disconnected with her roommate, and she's going through this whole phase where she finds her friend again, her old friend / roommate again, that she sort of used to have like a lovey-dovey relationship with, because it was like about LGBTQ and stuff.
I see.
And she's basically trying to reconnect with her within like a couple of days.
Interesting.
And her and her friend go through quite a bit during those couple of days. Like, they certainly don't. They're very uncomfortable with each other at first, but I feel like they start getting more and more. I feel like they start getting more and more comfortable with each other within a couple of days that they see each other. I haven't completely finished the book yet. I'm like a fourth of the way through. It's a pretty good book so far.
Well, that's good.
Cool. I like that you're reading, so that's awesome.
I love reading. I love reading. I love writing. In fact, on my Lizzie Borden essay, I'm almost done with that.
Awesome.
And it's due next week.
Cool.
Good job.
So
And you got a perfect score on your journaling, which you were super
I got
excited
52
about.
out of 52, and now I have an 80 in Miss Brown's class.
Good job.
Awesome.
So I'm super excited about that. I love that.
That's cool. So is that all in Krysta's Corner this week, or are we going to talk some more? Or do we want to discuss the topic?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it.
Okay, help me find. Alrighty. So before we get into the events that happened at the house, let's talk about the history of the house. We will also be talking about some things that are not true. I'm going to begin by saying the house's look has been extensively changed, and it has also been given a new street number to discourage folks from finding it. Actually, this is also true of the house they used for the movies. They've changed its look and street number as well. Now, it was while the books and movies tell us it was formerly located at 112 Ocean Avenue, which, like I said, that was changed to help keep hordes of looky-glues away. But it was supposedly built on a site where the local Shinnecock, I'm not sure, Native Americans abandoned the mad and the dying. And that ain't true. No, the Shinnecock have kept good records, apparently, and they have said, no, that's not what they did. According to other myths, the basement of the home was built in 1692, but that isn't true either. The house, Dutch colonial, and like I said, it's been renovated, so it's a lot more difficult to recognize it. It was built in the mid-1920s for John and Catherine Moynihan. So the house, which was at one time called High Hopes, was in most ways no different from the homes around it. Although I will say that any house built in the 1920s, because I'm such a Lovecraft-like person, I'm like, ooh, what secret monsters live in the basement?
Fair enough. So the first family that we need to talk about, though, is the DeFeos. So from 1924 to 1965, nothing of note happens in the house. However, in 1965, the house was purchased and moved into by the DeFeos. The DeFeos was a full family. Ronald DeFeo, 34, his wife Louise, who was born Louise Brigante, daughter of Michael Brigante Sr., who was an associate of Carlos Gambino, head of the Gambino crime family. She was also 34 years old. They had an eldest son named Ronald, who went by the nickname of Butch DeFeo Jr., who was 14 years old, a sister, Dawn, age 9, his other sister, Allison, 4, and younger brother, Mark, who was 3, and finally the youngest brother, John, who was either about to be born or had just been born when the family took up residence in the home. Ronald DeFeo Sr. was a drunk and an abusive bully for the longest time. Louise and eldest son Butch caught the brunt of his ire and his attacks. Now, by the time he turns 18, Ronnie Jr. or Butch is dabbling with both alcohol and drugs, which is causing even more problems in the family. Father and son are getting into quite regular fights, which only seems to fuel the younger Ronald's drug and alcohol binges. In the early morning hours of November 13th, 1974, Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr. murdered his family with a .35 caliber lever action Marlin 336C rifle. If you know about guns, you know more about that than I do, but any rifles tend to be a pretty good sized weapon.
Yeah, and loud. That one is actually particularly loud.
His parents received 2 shots each. His brothers and sister each got 1 shot each. Initially, Butch claimed to have found them dead, speculating about a mob hit. But under interrogation, his story became even more exaggerated. Eventually, he claimed to have committed all 6 of the murders. Later, in prison, he would make various other claims, including that demonic voices had ordered him to do the killings, or that the killings were committed by various family members who he later disarmed and killed. At times, he would even suggest that he was working with them in some odd conspiracy. Eventually, he passed away in prison in 2021.
Yep, he died in prison. I didn't catch what killed him, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was complications from COVID.
That would totally make sense. Absolutely.
What is that word?
Which word?
DeFeos?
The DeFeos. It's the family's name.
All the DeFeos were found face down in their beds. Evidence from the autopsies suggests both the mother and the younger daughter were awake when they were shot. There were absolutely no signs of a struggle. DeFeo, my bad. DeFeo claimed he did not use a sound suppressor on the rifle, but did claim to have drugged his family. However, drugs were not found in any victims of the victims at the autopsy. Shoot.
It's okay. We all go to the zoo, and you've already done your oratory for the day. So, and that's all you have this episode. So you're good. Yeah. Now, but I want to stress some of this, because this is where people start to go, something hinky is happening, because he didn't use a sound suppressor. Some of these people are in the same room.
Right.
You'd think when the person next to you gets shot, the other person would at least go, huh.
Right. Well, yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
So that's hinky. Also, it's hinky that he says he drugged them, which if he had, there should have been drugs in their system.
One would think.
So, and he's claimed so much that while he's not believable, the police are, and they're the ones who found them all in the same position, face down, in the bed. 2 shots each for the parents, 1 for each of the kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, so, and that happens in the house.
Right.
So after that, the first part, the DeFeos, we're going to take a short word from our sponsors and come back and talk about the next family that owned the house.
Yes. Hey, babe.
Yes?
I feel sponsored.
Yay! So let's talk about the next family that owned the house. In this case, we're discussing
about the Lutzes.
Yes. Now, I know this is going to be hard for you because it was for me, but I need you to throw everything from the movies out of your head. Because most of it
was made up. Most of it was Hollywood. Absolutely. But here's the thing. So I watched the original movie, and then several years ago, I also watched There Was a Remake.
Yeah, I watched it too, only for Ryan Reynolds.
And the remake, I felt like, was less Hollywood than the original. I mean, there was still a lot of Hollywood in it, don't get me wrong, but I did feel like, the scene that haunts me from the original is when they're trying to get out of the house and the walls are bleeding. And I think that's the big one. Like, it has messed with me my entire life. And I don't think it's probably anywhere near as scary as my young brain told me it was. However, I can also say that I remember very vividly finding the actual novel from when the original movie was released that my mother had around the house when I was growing up. And so I had been exposed to that as well. And the novel was, I think, a little bit less of the Hollywood and more of the information.
Right.
But yeah, please continue.
So George and Kathleen Lutz purchased the home at 112 Ocean Avenue around 1 year later, almost exactly a year later, for $80,000. This is well below market value for the home and was surely due to the murders from a year before. And to be honest with you, I have had arguments with people about this, but I don't know. There's part of me that would like to be practical and say, if I found a house cheap enough, I wouldn't care how many people were killed in it. I'd move in.
Right.
But by the same token, don't know if I want to lose that much of my stuff. You know, I don't want to be chased out at 3 a.m. by demonic entities. That's the thing.
That's fair.
Now, when they first moved in, things went missing and were found in odd places. People felt cold spots and heard odd whispers. But it's a new place, and new places are kind of like that, you know? Mm-hmm. But the first sign they had that something big might be wrong is when a local priest came to bless the home. When he entered, an unseen force slapped his face. He could feel the fingers slapped his face. And he heard words in a demonic voice tell him to get out. Mm-hmm. And we can tell he's not black because he didn't.
What?
It's an old Eddie Murphy joke. Or Richard Pryor is like, you know how you can, there wouldn't be an Exorcist featuring black people. Because the minute you move in and you hear, get out, bye, they don't hang around. They don't have anything to do with spooky stuff like that.
Thank you for explaining that. I still feel like it's a little racist, but it definitely has way better connotation when you give the whole story behind your thought process on. Oh my goodness.
So now he told the Lutzes not to go into the room where that occurred, and he left the house. So those of you who are waiting for me to talk about flies and the window, nope, nah. It's a thing that happened according to George Lutz later, but it certainly didn't happen to the priest. Now, the house, things continued to occur. His children were talking to invisible children. There was reports of like a pig thing that wandered around with red eyes that they saw looking from the windows. So the house was investigated briefly by famed demonologists and paranormal researchers, Ed and Lorraine Warren, who toured the home with a local news crew. Now, if you're thinking, I've heard of them, I'm sure you have. They are the people who have investigated the actual events that became the Conjuring films. And I think The Nun is tied into them as well.
And Annabelle.
And the Annabelle, yeah. So those are all tied into the Warrens. And we may well talk about them at some point. But this is not that episode. But it is important to know that part of the reason that this got so big was this is really kind of the last big thing that the Warrens did. And so, now, later, the dad could never get warm. He remained chilly in the house for days. George Lutz has remarked about that even up to the time of his death. Doors would shut and stick for no reason, as would windows. For whatever reason, the Lutzes fled the home on January 14th, 1976, just 28 days after they purchased it and moved in. Since that time, the house has been owned by multiple others who have had no problems with the paranormal. The movers who came to remove the Lutz furniture had no experiences, and parts of their stories simply could not have happened. For example, they claimed to have found cloven footprints in the snow, but that simply couldn't be the case because there was no snow while the Lutz family lived at that location. Also, in the movie, there's a big thing about this red room that's hidden. Couldn't have been hidden because it was a closet. They had to have seen it walking through the house. So, yeah, some of it just simply couldn't be true. During a legal battle, their former attorney claimed it was all a hoax by the Lutz family, and he knew that because he had been on hand while sharing wine as they came up with it.
Interesting. So, some extra information on the Lutzes. The parents of the Lutz family both took a lie detector test as accusations of being hoaxers were flung at them. Both of them passed the lie detector tests. Neither wavered about the events between when it supposedly occurred and when they passed away. To this day, the children of the Lutz family claim that everything in the book happened as they told it, and in fact, the youngest child still has nightmares about the house to this day. Also, the priest who blessed the home has testified as to the truth of his encounter.
So, my take on things. I actually, you know what? I'm going to save mine for last. Krysta, what are your final thoughts here? What do you think? Because really, there's two events. There's the guy that murdered his family, and there's some weirdness associated with that. And then there's the family that disappeared or that left, claiming that the place was very haunted, but we know they're wrong in some of the particulars. So, where are you?
I don't really know. This is a confusing case for me. So it's just like.
So here we go. We have a lot of negativity, negative energy built up, and multiple people with addictive and abusive issues in the home to start off with, where the DeFeos are concerned. There's no question about those things happening. That there was abuse, that there was drug and alcohol abuse on both the father and the son's part. There's a lot of significance to that kind of negative energy. Every action that we make as a human puts energy into the world, whether you believe that that energy has power or it just changes the vibe, if you will, of the location. It's pretty obvious that if there is abuse and domestic violence going on in a home from multiple people and multiple sources, and that leads to something as awful as this multiple murder that definitely occurred, it's absolutely plausible that if nothing else, there is negativity in the space surrounding those very disturbing events. So, do I think that there was probably a lot of things that happened when the Lutzes moved in 12 months after such horror took place in that house? Absolutely.
Okay. I have been wondering for a while now, and I don't even know how to go about doing the research on this, but I often wonder about evil and how it gets into the world. And I often wonder if there isn't something that is whispering to our darker natures all the time. And like certain things make that whispering louder or more easily heard, like drinking and
Sure.
drugs
Sure.
and associations with violence. Because while I did not include it in the research because I couldn't find evidence to support it, but the father, Ronald DeFeo Jr., might have been connected to a different crime family. So I don't know how much these connections were talked up in the house.
Sure.
And that adds to that. I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, they may have had a code of honor or whatever, but to my mind, the mafia, kind of evil. Almost certainly evil.
Definitely a lot of blood.
Yeah.
If nothing else, even if you don't want to take that step to refer to them as evil, there's definitely a lot of death and dismay and
bodies
anger
buried in places we don't
Yep.
know where they are.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So I just think that the whole family is negative moving in. And it makes me wonder if maybe the kid wasn't wrong. He heard voices telling him, hey, do this horrible, evil thing.
Right.
Because he says that once he started, he couldn't stop.
Right.
And that sounds like an addict to me.
Yep.
And we know he was an addict, but I mean, you don't get addicted to murder. So, and if that's the case, then the dad the George Lutz becoming kind of aloof from his family,
Right.
and being unable to get warm and whatever, that makes a certain amount of sense because whatever it is kind of whispering to him too.
Right.
Trying to go for another trifecta or whatever.
Right. And I believe that was actually part of the book, that he was kind of hearing whispers and feeling led to do something to his family. Not
right. Well, and the dad from the Sally house talked about the same thing.
right.
So it makes me wonder that when evil happens, if there isn't, for lack of a better word, a demon sitting on our shoulder whispering that in. And once someone lets that in, maybe it hangs around a bit. Now, this house was blessed a lot.
Yeah.
It was saged. Like everybody who knew anything about doing has done it to that house while the Lutzes were there. I think if the Lutzes had been able to stay another week, probably would have been okay for them. Maybe not, because by that time George was already pretty seriously affected.
Right.
And that may be why they weren't reacting with them. But I think that whatever was there, once the Lutzes left, had nothing to work with anymore. They'd been saged, blessed, God nuked out of the house. Just there's nothing there after that. So why would anybody else run into it? They wouldn't. So I honestly think that something happened there because, and this is the part that's so hinky to me, is when Butch is going through the house with a rifle, he's not suppressed, and people who aren't drugged, or at least aren't drugged enough to have it register, so they're certainly not being affected enough that they'd sleep through someone next to them being shot. In an enclosed space, that doesn't happen. That is so out there to me. And that is to me like even if you add everything else in, that is the weirdest part of this for me. Is that all that happening?
How does that happen?
Yeah, it just so. But do I think the house probably had a lot of negative energy associated? Absolutely. Do I think the Lutzes experienced some stuff? Absolutely. Might they have enhanced that to try to sell their story? Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how much they spent on the house.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know their credit had to have taken a hit. So, yeah. Krysta, anything you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
She's talking to her girl.
I'm actually not. That's my brother.
Ah.
She's my girl's on Pinterest.
Okay. Well, so That's our show.
That is our show.
Thank you for listening, as always. Thanks to Investigation Discovery and Sci-Fi, as well as Wikipedia. Between them, their 3 websites were quite helpful to my research this week. Also, thanks to Bill Berendt, that last name is spelled Behrendt, who does our theme music. If you need music for a project or someone to perform at an event, Bill's your guy. You can reach him at Bill Berendt at sbcglobal.net. Also, thanks to Paige Elmore of Reverie Crime Podcast. But in addition to being a great true crime podcaster, Paige also has a Canva addiction, and along with our Chris, has done some logo art for us. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
Also, thanks to Aaron Gnurk of the Big Dumb Fun Show for continuing to support us locally. Do you like the show? Tell us in our Facebook group. Got an idea for a show? Tell us in our Facebook group. In short, join our Facebook group. Join us next week for more spooky season fun.
Bye.
Bye.